few short questions for you. Really enjoyed this concert and been following you for a couple of years, listened to the CDs. You are going into very different areas, but still it's always very Don Byron. It can be very funky, it can be chamber music. How do you combine all these disciplines?
Well, I think I have a similar way of doing them that's kind of about, you know, when I was growing up, I loved Eddie Palmieri, and I think really the way that Eddie Palmieri does things within Latin music, where he's kind of grounded in what's happening, but he has his own thing within it. And so I just try to do that everywhere. Like if I'm gonna do some chamber music or some jazz or some early jazz, with, you know, I want to do it a little different. So I just think about how I want to come off, and that's what I do.
Like that you have some kind of conversation with the tradition or something?
I have a yin and yang relationship with it, let's say. That's the best way to describe it.
And also, like on some of the CDs you put out, like New Blaxploitation, jazz and poetry, which is very...
Well, there's not really that much jazz on there, but there certainly is a different approach to doing music for poetry on that record than a lot of... For that, I really looked at a lot of music and poetry, from, you know, stuff like The Last Poets to the Rollins Band, and tried to improve on things I liked and discard things I didn't like, and just try to move different elements around.
One of the things I like about your music is that as a consumer of music who likes a lot of stuff, like myself, with you have a high gratification because you explore so much. One balance I would like to ask you about, though, within that concept, is that you can, for my feeling, combine very strong emotional musical expression with very strong political engaged messages. Is there a way that you combine those, or do they just go hand in hand?
Well, I think most good music has some kind of politic, whether it's ethnic pride, actual politics, and that's part of what gives it its strength. And so I don't feel like I changed the music to do that. I just make it a little more obvious what I'm trying to say, which I think a lot of music does that, but it does it in a way that isn't obvious, because I'm playing more than one music, and because I do that consistently, people notice it more. But I think certainly the history of jazz is full of that, and you know, if other people my age aren't doing that, well, I mean, I don't know who's right or wrong, but I feel like Max Roach did that, and Abbey Lincoln did that, and all of those people did that. So to me, it's in the tradition to do that.
Last question. The composer Don Byron versus, or together with, the musician Don Byron. Are you on stage?
You mean the player Don Byron?
Yeah, the player. That balance. If you play on stage, how much of your composership is in there?
Well, I mean, the composership's already been done. If I play a tune of mine, the composership is in there. And sometimes the way that even something that someone else wrote is arranged is the composership in me. It really depends. I mean, I went to a school where totally straight repertory music making, we studied it and we thought about it, and we thought about how to do it both aesthetically and physically, how to get the right notes, and then how to make it live. So I look at that as a separate kind of music making that doesn't interfere with my creativity. It's not a conflict for me to do a record like I did, like Bug Music, where we were really trying to recreate, because to me they're just different jobs. It's the difference between being a plumber and a carpenter. You know, they're just different jobs. I think different kinds of people are usually attracted to those jobs, and I think people have certain assumptions about people that do those two separate jobs. And the audience for people that do those two separate jobs is usually quite separate. You know, the audience for new music and repertory music are usually quite separate. But that doesn't mean that, you know, a single person can't learn to do both of those jobs, you know, at a pretty high level. So I guess that's kind of, I don't necessarily feel socially connected even to the kind of people that like some of the music that I play. That's not really why I play it. I play it because I have a compositional and craft interest in what the notes are, and also having the experience of playing it. But, you know, a lot of the people that like klezmer music, or they like really early jazz, they'd hate a lot of the other music that I do, and some of them do, or they just ignore the fact that it exists. But some of the people that like new things, they ignore the fact that I've done really old things. So, but that has nothing to do with musicianship, so I just keep doing what I do, and who likes it, who likes what part of it, that's what they're into.
And on the side, you have the chance that you might confront people that are maybe monogamous in their musical tastes, get confronted with some new stuff for them.
Well, I think actually most people aren't quite so monogamous, but they expect their musicians to be monogamous. You know, it's like most Americans aren't monogamous, but they expect their president to be monogamous.
Yeah.
And quite similarly, most music listeners, oh, you know, I want to chill out, I want to listen to some Brazilian music, I want to think a bit, I want to listen to some jazz, I want to dance a bit, I want to listen to some funk. But if a musician does that, it's like, ooh, he's not supposed to do that. He represents my chill out or my thinking. Yeah. He's not supposed to represent me moving my booty, you know? So when you move around stylistically, sometimes you come upon people's cultural assumptions about a musician that plays a certain kind of music, and I just really don't care about that much.
Maybe you could tear down that pretentious attitude a bit.
I don't think I've had any luck about tearing down anybody's pretentious attitude about much of anything. I think at this point I'm just going from things that I'm very interested, from one thing I'm very interested in to another thing, and you know, hoping to do it justice in some way that hasn't been done. Just try to do something a little different, and I can't really, you know, changing people's minds about. Sometimes you can change people's minds only about you. That happened with klezmer music. It's not, you know, people just, oh, he can play, but these other guys, they can't play, you know. So, you know, in a certain kind of way, it's not really my place to change people's minds about anything. But, you know, I think I just try to keep the level of compositional interest in what I'm doing kind of high, whether it's my music or someone else's music. And if there are certain people that can follow what my train of thought is about all these musics, then they're along for the ride, or there's some people that are only along for certain rides.
I hope to continue this conversation pretty soon, but I know you have to eat and you have the...
I would like to eat. So we started traveling very early today.
So go eat.
But
Thanks a lot.
you.
No, thank you.